Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It is a beautiful September afternoon here in Texas. And if you hear a noise in the background, that's just my AC going. I wanted to come on and just make a video to talk about something I had heard earlier this week from my mother. I guess it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. Uh, I work at a daycare, and during that time, my mom had on the radio. We usually listen to K Love. It's a Christian radio at the daycare, and we're listening to it, and my mom goes, "Oh, by the way, did you hear about this pastor that died?" And I was like, "No, who?" Um, my former pastor from the church I go to apparently knew him. His name was Jared Wilson. I had never heard of him before, but he was a pastor at one of these like big like mega churches, and apparently he had committed suicide. And of course, very sad. Um, and it kind of was upsetting to hear that my former pastor knew him because my pastor is awesome and he's great. He will always be great, even though I don't go to church anymore. It kind of made me sad to know that, a friend's friend passed away. But I, once I started, researching because I found out and then I wanted to know, oh, what was this guy about? What happened to this pastor, Jared Wilson? It was shocking, I guess, to see that he was a pastor who advocated for mental health, I guess, in the Christian community. And so I was kind of like, wow, that's crazy, to have this pastor who's speaking out about mental health and how, Christian, it's okay to have PTSD and to need help, all this kind of stuff. And then he commits suicide. How crazy, right? And then the tweet he wrote, apparently his last tweet, pull it up on my phone. His last tweet, it says, "Loving Jesus doesn't always cure suicidal thoughts. Loving Jesus doesn't always cure depression. Loving Jesus doesn't always cure PTSD. Loving Jesus doesn't always cure anxiety. But that doesn't mean Jesus doesn't offer us companionship and comfort. He always does that, always in capital letters." Now, I find that a little, I don't know, it just takes me back that he would write something like that, hours before killing himself, because I feel like I can agree with all those statements that Jesus doesn't fix everything, it's not the cure. But that last part when he says, it says, "But that doesn't mean Jesus doesn't offer us companionship and comfort. He always does that." I kind of feel like, well, my goodness, if he offers companionship and comfort, where was this poor man's comfort before he was getting ready to do this? Where was his comfort and companionship? Did he not feel comfort and companionship before he decided to end his life? All the other statements in his tweet make sense. Jesus doesn't cure everything, but if he offers comfort and companionship, where was that for him? Where was his companionship? I don't know if he didn't feel that, or maybe he was just overcome with so much grief and depression, anxiety that I don't know. I don't know, but it's quite rattling and quite like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It just kind of shakes up my soul and shakes up my brain juices when I see that, especially now with everything that I'm going through and everything how I feel. Um, I don't want to use this poor man's death as a way to pat myself on the back and go, "Oh, well, see there, you did a good job by not really being a Christian anymore." But at the same time, it kind of makes me feel like um, the way I feel is justified and that I'm not crazy in feeling that being in church and being a Christian all what it's isn't all what it's made out to be. because studying Buddhism, which I'm still doing, I have my book, which I've yet to finish, Buddhism for Beginners. I've had this forever now, and I'm still reading through it, but I'm trying to digest it and go through and highlight things, because what Jared said in his tweet before the comfort and companionship, Jesus doesn't fix everything. And for me, that's a big part of why I want to study more into Buddhism, because Jesus didn't fix everything in my life. God didn't fix everything. I'm still struggling to have a baby. My husband's still struggling with his diabetes and with his body and how it's changed since having diabetes. God didn't fix everything. Jesus didn't cure it. And as much as Jesus may or may not offer comfort and companionship, I did not feel that. I did not. And so that's why I sought out a different path, because I was waiting around for that. I was waiting around for the comfort and the companionship, to feel those squishy, warm feelings that other Christians feel that I'm not. And I never got that. I never got the squishy, warm feelings. They'd come and go, but I think there's this, how do I put this? There's this belief in the Christian community that Jesus is just like a big, snuggly blanket that will hold on to you. As long as you don't let go and you hold on tight, Jesus is the snuggly, warm blanket, this hug that'll never let go. But it's not like that at all. Even if you don't let go, I feel that, now this is my opinion, this is not biblical or anything like that. I feel like for me, when I was a Christian, I could be holding on so tight to that blanket, that snuggly Jesus blanket, and I'd be walking down the road and that blanket would get snagged on a rock and it gets snatched off of me. And I'd have to pick it back up and put it on. And I'd be running and maybe a dog would come up and yank it off me and I have to fight it back. Like, it wasn't this thing that I'm just like, I never felt that, oh, warm, snuggly 24/7. And I don't know if it was supposed to be like that, but looking at other people, it really felt like that. Like they had this snuggliness that I'm like, am I just not tapping into what I'm supposed to be tapping into in Christianity? Am I not reading the Bible correctly? Am I not going to enough Bible studies and I'm not attending church often enough? I don't know. But I never had the warm snugglies all the time. And maybe I wasn't meant to. Maybe I had the wrong mindset. But with Buddhism, I don't need the warm snugglies. I don't need the blanket, because I find comfort in myself through meditation, through yoga, through trying to free my mind and live moment to moment. I give myself the warm snugglies. As weird and gross or crazy as that might sound, through meditation, clearing my mind and just sitting and being at peace, I don't have to wait for comfort. I don't have to wait for that. I feel it already. And I can sit here and give myself ease and peace of mind. I'm not praying or looking to Jesus or God for comfort, because you know what? I'm going to clear my mind. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do it myself. And so that's why for me, like, Buddhism was the way to go. And I want to talk more about this, how Christianity, like, they really believe that, I won't say all of Christians, but I think a lot of Christians really feel that everything can be cured. Just pray and God and Jesus, all in good time. All in good time. God will take care of everything. Jesus will come for you, all in good time. And there was a specific situation I was talking about with my mom. So there was an old pastor from years ago, that I knew. And I was going through a time where I wasn't reading my Bible. I was still coming to church, but I wasn't reading my Bible. I wasn't praying. And I wasn't doing those things because even when I was reading my Bible, even when I was praying, I wasn't feeling any different. I wasn't feeling the warm snugglies. I don't know if I wasn't getting answers or what, but I just didn't feel God. I didn't feel comfort. And I specifically remember a conversation I had a Sunday afternoon or after church with this pastor. And I told him, I said, I don't feel close to God. I said, I don't feel close to God. I don't feel connected to God, that God's not talking to me. And the first thing he says is, well, are you praying? Are you reading your Bible? And I was like, no. And he goes, well, there you go. Read your Bible, pray. Okay. And I don't think he was grasping that I wasn't reading my Bible and I wasn't praying because I didn't feel that closeness. That's why I stopped doing that. But he's like, well, you need to pray. You need to read your Bible. Okay, well, what should I be reading and praying then? That's another thing with the Christian community that kind of always bugged me. Well, you should be praying and reading your Bible and looking and researching and all this kind of stuff. But they never tell you what to pray. They never tell you what to read in the Bible. Like, I've always had to look up how to pray when I'm hurting. What do I do when this? And the Bible, sometimes it's very specific, but sometimes it's very vague. And a lot of times in life, your sorrows and your trials are very specific. And the Bible, I wouldn't say the Bible is vague, the Bible is very broad. And sometimes it's too broad. So you need something more specific. And a lot of the times, the Bible was just too broad for me. Like if I'm, struggling with homework, when my husband and I first started going to church together, I was still in college, community college. And if I was struggling with homework and, oh my gosh, this is so hard, I don't know what I'm going to do. And you've turned to a Bible verse and it says, pray without ceasing. And it'll say something like, God is with you always, even in the hard times. Okay. It's like, thank you. This isn't going to help me get my homework done any faster or without less stress. But it's like, thanks, Bible. You're really there for me. Thanks, God. But I'd still struggle. I'd still fail on tests or something would happen and I couldn't get an assignment done. Sometimes the Bible was just too broad for me and I needed a specific answer. And even when I sought help from pastors, I'd get these broad answers and nothing that would speak to my specific situation. It'd be like, well, there's this verse that kind of relates to what you're going through, or there's this passage and it sort of has a little bit of what's going on. And I'm like, but I don't know. It never, the Bible and God and Jesus, it was good as a kid, but as an adult, it never got down to the root of my problem, the root of my issues, that I did not feel what other people was feeling about Christianity. I never got those warm fuzzies. I never did. And I see how successful other people are in it. And I'm like, maybe I'm not drinking the right Kool-Aid. There are 3 people that come to mind specifically when I think about Christianity. And when I look at their lives, from the outside looking in, they have these wonderful, beautiful lives. They have great husbands, great families. They're women, by the way, 3 women that I've known. And I'm just like, what am I doing wrong that I can't have that? That my life when I was a Christian, it wasn't like that, And I've said this a bajillion times, and I'm sure I'll say it a bajillion more before I die, but comparison is the killer of joy. But you can't live your life and not compare things. It's hard, but it's the truth. You go through life and you see what someone does or doesn't have, and it's kind of like, well, what about me? And I know that's a selfish way of thinking, but it's not totally what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a stupid way of thinking because we're only humans. It's natural to think, well, what about me, God? And to feel those sad thoughts. And that's why I keep coming back to Buddhism, because it's just more realistic for me. And just all this stuff with Jared Wilson, I think it really affirms that in my life, and in my body and my brain, that coming off of Christianity, coming away from this, pulling away from Christianity and really questioning everything was a smart decision for me. I can't speak for everyone else. Everyone is different. And like I always say that, maybe if something happens in the future, I might return to church. I might return to being a full-time Christian. But now it's just not the time. And just everything with this pastor, like how can you be a pastor and advocate for mental health and people getting better and then take your own life? I feel like it just shows that not everything can be solved with God and Christianity and Jesus. Sometimes you need help from other entities, and that's not talked about in the Christian community. And I think Jared Wilson was trying to talk about it, but I don't know if he was strong enough. Well, I believe that he wasn't strong enough to deal with it because he ended his life. So I feel like if you're a Christian and you're not getting what you need, if you still don't feel fulfilled, I think it's okay to reach out and seek something different. You don't have to totally leave Christianity behind like I did. I don't feel like I'll be a Christian anytime soon, but I'm on a group on Facebook for Buddhism, beginner Buddhist, and it's just like a group. We share different quotes and things to help us feel uplifted. And there was one lady who I read comments. She's a Christian. She's a Christian woman from somewhere, and goes to church, reads her Bible, all this stuff. But she practices and reads about Buddhism on the side because it wasn't Christianity in itself was not giving her all she needed to thrive and be the person she wanted to be. So that's something else that we don't talk about in Christianity, seeking help elsewhere. Not necessarily in a doctor, but if you need to seek help in a different religion or a different theology or different practice, then I say do it. Because if that's what helps you get through life and get through the day, then do it. Life is too short. And if someone's going to judge me because I feel agnostic and that I'm not convinced there's a God anymore, then you know what? That's your problem. But I'm in this Buddhist thing and I don't want that energy. I really don't. Like, the more I study Buddhism, the more I truly believe. I don't believe in everything. I'm not totally convinced by some things in Buddhism, but I really and truly believe that everything has an energy. This earth radiates energy. Things grow and change. I think animals, plants, trees, humans have energy. Cars have energy. It's called an engine. That's where their energy comes from. Everything has an energy and a force within it, And I really believe that if you're going to be negative and you're going to judge me for what I have to say or what I do, then you know what? Keep your energy over there. Don't bring it this way because I just want nothing but good vibes, good energy. To be quite honest, I really don't like that good vibes. I think that's really silly. I like good energy better. I like energy because I feel like energy just radiates and keep you going and powerful. Christianity, it's nice and it's lovely and it's beautiful, but it didn't keep me powered. It did not keep me energized. Buddhism, I feel like, keeps me energized. And with all this going on, just so much in the world, I need something. I needed something to keep me going and to keep me energized. Otherwise, I don't know how well I'd be doing mentally. Well, the thing is, I wasn't doing well mentally. To be quite honest, I wasn't doing well mentally. Buddhism, I feel so much better about my life, about choices I've made, about decisions. Because you know what? Brush it off. Brush some shoulders off. I'm not going to let it get to me because this is my life now, and you either take it or you don't. But it's just too much going on. Life's too short, and God and Jesus are not always the answer. Sometimes you got to fill in the blanks with whatever you can. So I hope you guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Bye, guys.